for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I always say it's a grand old flag.
Roll call, we're all here. We're all here. You know what, I know I had a pencil somewhere. George is not here tonight because we had nothing. And Tom's not here tonight because we had nothing. Although I did ask Tom for something, and we'll get to that under the old business section. Public comment, we have nothing, so there's no agenda items to comment on, sir. I'm sorry. And the January meetings are in front of you. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I not get it far enough? It was a short meeting. Do I have a motion to accept the minutes?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have no new business unless one of you has something. Okay, old business. I asked, and let me actually read what it says because I don't want to get it wrong. I asked George to find out, and he found out by way of Tom, so I got an email back from both of them on the status of ZNS Green Tree, as we were calling it at the beginning. And the answer is, as soon as I find it again. Of course, Tom can't ever give you a short answer to anything, so.
They were issued their permit.
Yes, they were. As previously reported, the developer engineer, blah, 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 blah. On November, they were issued their permit. Ground prepared for commencement of construction, the ZS stormwater, the site improvement required under the approval, blah, blah, blah. Further reported the improvements as required under the current approval will be commenced in earnest by summer and completed by fall. They have also committed to inviting George and Sean along to see the whole process. In the meantime, it also appears from the note below that Range Resources is also in discussion with the ZNS landowners regarding their future activities on the site. Bottom line is, well, first, let me remind everybody, because I have to remind myself on a regular basis. We are out of the picture on this thing. It is purely the Board of Supervisors. So that's why when I asked, I said, look, can I have an update, because we all were involved and we'd like to know where things are. And so he did send me this update. Basically, their 6 months is up in May. So they have to start work by May. Tom says here it's going to be in earnest by summer. So I'm not sure what that means. All I can suggest is that if you have any, probably need to go directly to the Board of Supervisor meeting and voice your concern.
Why are they waiting until May or June to start?
All I know is what Tom sent me. At the meeting, they are saying, and I quote, that's why I told you I wanted to read it, because I knew I wanted to make sure I got it right. Engineers have reached out to us last month. I don't know why it took till February if they got their permit in November either, to let us know that they are getting ready to stake the ground and prepare for commencement of construction of the stormwater facilities and other site improvements required under the approval for the current business itself. Further reported the improvements as required under the current improvement will be commenced in earnest by summer and completed by fall. It doesn't say May. So,
Where was this for again?
The old golf course.
That's what I thought. And is
Yeah.
it not called Green Tree anymore?
it's not called, Green Tree Trucking rents the ground. So they're not technically the responsible party for fixing the problem. This ZNS
This
Properties
is ZNS.
is the owner of the property that rents it to
Okay.
Green Tree Trucking.
So to dumb it down, we are no longer involved. It is
That
up to the supervisors.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Okay.
We were reminded of that at the December meeting or something, as I recall, because I took that back when I was still a supervisor, and I got reminded by Mr. McDermott that while the planning commission has the right to ask for an update, that's why I politely asked him for an update this time, through George. Makes it smarter and easier. That we are no longer in any way, shape, or form in the mix for it. So
Okay.
that's where it stands. But I know that it had come up in the last couple meetings, and I wanted to make sure we had something to make it stick. So I don't know what to say, other than like I said earlier, if you have further concerns about it, and see if I can get an answer politely without having to come to a meeting and say, hey, wait a minute, is this gonna turn into they get another free pass?
It's been 3 years now.
I know. So that's what I know about it. So that's the old business that I had. Does anybody else have any old business?
Are you still working on your revision of your subdivision?
I was, until this whole other thing started to come. I'm gonna try to get back with George again. I just can't make any promises right at the moment that I can pull that off. It needs done, and I hate to spend money, but I'm about ready to say to the supervisors that we may just need somebody to read through it a second time. I got notes from all the mistakes I found already, but I don't have anything else other than that. So, and then I've handed you guys that all out in the past. So I have nothing new to offer on that one.
Well, all we were gonna do was, you're gonna just basically simplify it.
Yeah, that's what this was. I think I still have it in here. How is the well pad doing out in Washington?
Well, I think pretty good. They're starting to put a pipeline over to get it out of there, I guess.
That was
I
the
think they're gonna start fracking in May.
bulk. They're gonna what?
Frack in May, I think.
In May?
They
Which
want-
rig they got on there now?
Pardon?
Which rig do they have on there? Which rig they got on there now?
Big one.
The really tall one?
The real
Yeah.
tall one.
They're drilling it.
They're
So
drilling.
they're doing directional drilling. They're done with the doghouse. They took the little rig off. They got the big rig on now.
Mhm. Yeah, I could see the light coming up.
What is this, March?
Uh,
April? They ought to be.
I was
It
curious.
takes
They'd be
a week,
fracking
it takes a
before May.
week to 2 weeks to drill a well.
I know, that's what I'm thinking. Why
Wonder
you
what
gonna
wells
are they
drill it-
doing?
Why you gonna take that long to frack it after you've drilled it? That's what I'm trying to figure. That's 2 months away. If they got the big rig on there, they ought to be out of there by the end of this month easy. You'd think they'd be
How many
fracking
wells
in
are
April.
They said by May, so
How many are they drilling?
I don't know.
6, 4?
I don't know, to be honest.
They
Do
only
they have the
been
rig
there-
that
they
has
only
the
been there a week.
Caterpillar tracks on it?
I wasn't up there. I only talked
What,
to
the
I
rig?
thought you went up, huh?
The rig with tracks?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
There's no, the Pioneer rig doesn't have tracks.
Okay. Range doesn't, EQT, whoever, I forget who we're using now, but the rig had tracks. They set it up the first time, and they would just walk it to the next well bore, 6 well bores in a row. Just walk it down
No,
there.
this one has feet that just picks it up, and pads, and just picks it up and moves it, and it sucks it in and moves like that.
Oh, cool. Cool.
I'll take my brother Marco, he's always up, and then he'll stop by and tell me, I don't have time to go do that, I'm looking for a barn. But I haven't gone up toward Hickory with all the bad weather and everything. And I just wondered, are we satisfied with how things look behind the subway? Remember we had some,
There was a discussion at the January supervisor meeting? No, February supervisor meeting. Anyways, George has not brought anything. When I asked him if there was anything for us tonight, he said no, including that. Because I asked, well, I didn't ask him directly this time, but I asked him a couple weeks back about the house down on the other side of here, or down at the end of, yeah, whatever this road's called, McCarroll. The hole in the roof and everything, you guys, do you remember all that?
No, I don't think everybody knew about that
Oh,
problem with it.
yeah, there's somebody violent. And see, this is part of the issue is George likes to keep us informed when he can about stuff that comes through planning, but not all of zoning. We talk about things in zoning and how things should be changed in that, but once it gets passed by the board, technically he has the whole thing. So he's dealing with the house down there. He's dealing with that. Unless they come in and asked us to build something, we really. Here's what I ask people to do all the time, and I hope you guys all think about this too. If I'm driving around and I see something new being done, and wondering, hey, is that on the up and up? I usually just say to George, have you been out this road? Have you seen that? And that way it gives him the opportunity to go and then say, wait a minute, they're putting up this building and I don't have any permit for that to be happening.
Well, look at that house down there on 50.
Yeah.
For what, 2 years?
Yeah.
That's a $500,000 house, if not more.
Yeah.
They
Just
didn't-
an outbuilding. It was an outbuilding. They got a permit. It was for an outbuilding. Yeah. That's an interesting house, but that's where we are.
okay, now, in the newspaper, Brian Temple, he was on the board with us, right?
Yes,
He was on the board of supervisors. Was he on this for a while?
He was on, that's what it said in the paper, yeah.
Yeah, now, will that affect us? Or is that in Mount Pleasant Township, where that strip mine is?
That's in Robinson,
That's
I
in
think.
Robinson.
Is that Robinson?
Yeah.
Damn it.
What?
What's more tax for us if they,
It's on the other side of the creek.
You can either have a rural community or you can have a good tax base. Which do you want? You want?
well, we have,
This
but
has
that,
been Mount Pleasant Township's issue forever.
I
Is
know.
this idea of do you want to grow and have a tax base, or do you want to have a nice little rural community?
I got something, I'm not sure if it's gonna be under old business or new business. There's been some comment back before Jack and Gary, you were on there, but John and Kathy and I were on there, where we changed the lot size from 1 acre to 2 acre for a subdivision.
People want it to come back to one.
But, and really, you really need to think about that, because I'm in a situation now that somebody's having a problem with a septic system, and they have 1 acre, and their system failed, and they don't have any property to put another system on. And the reason why we did the 2 acres was because we don't have flat ground here in Mount Pleasant Township. A lot of slopes, and people put buildings up, then they put outbuildings up, detached garages and stuff like that. And if their system would fail, they have an alternative. The systems are now. And that's the reason why it was changed to 2 acres.
I agree with you 100%, and my recommendation was it doesn't get changed. So I don't know whether they'll follow that or not.
I think most places are 2 acres, isn't it? Most townships are 2 acres.
Well, I'll tell you what happens to people, because I just helped family friend in South Franklin Township. Theirs failed, they're trying to sell their house, and so Alex was over there with the excavator and digging a hole and putting a holding tank in for them, and the people buying a house doesn't seem to mind that it's gonna be a holding tank. I don't think they realize how
What's
fast
it gonna
those suckers
cost?
fill up.
Oh, man, I don't know.
I don't think, you might want to consider taking your laundry to the laundromat, things like that, if you're gonna have a holding tank. But it's a problem everywhere. The biggest fix to a lot of this is show up on the meeting that's next Wednesday and just ask what the heck's going on after 11 years. I did, and I wasn't very well received. So I think they like not having people here, but good chance I'll be here this one. I was out of town last one, but I'd like to just put it on the public record and say, how do you feel about handing off a debt to the township of $2 million that means that people that aren't ever gonna see any of this sewage work for them are paying off the sewage debt? Because that's exactly what happened.
We're all paying for it. And that was the only way we could get done right now, is it had to be turned over to the township. And everybody's been liable for it anyhow.
You got, in my opinion, you got 2 professionals that have been milking this thing for way too long, and I'm just saying, you ought to come next Wednesday if you're concerned about the fact that you're helping to pay off a $2 million debt if you're not going to have any ability to tie into this system. So
Was it I think it's $9,000 a month payment?
yeah.
But also, I've asked for an updated price and they haven't got one for over a year. So it's gonna probably more than the $32 million that they think.
You can't do it. Nobody's going to lend you the money. I dealt with Penfest too long, but we're away from this meeting. Let's get back to this meeting.